so cool. Yeah, yeah, it's so cool. I've been following every bit. They're right. I think they're approaching the dark side of the moon, which we've never seen, which is hard to believe. But yeah, it's. You into it? I'm into it. Yeah, I'm a geek. I love it. I think.
And then these bye weeks that we had early to start the year. How big are they for you to kind of work with the team extendedly and start implementing that style?
We're tired of bye weeks. Yeah, this one would have been interesting without the New England, bye week that we had that wasn't planned, right? So, but no, there's plenty of training sessions in between, and really, we can train all we want. The games still are where we really fully learn about ourselves, and I think. We haven't had that many up until this point. We're still a few games in, so the bye week, you want to work on things, you want to grind, but it's also there's no carrot at the end of the week for the weekend, so it's hard. You got to find the right balance of enjoying yourselves and pushing, but also learning, and you can't just hit the throttle every day on a bye week. So there's a rhythm to it, but I think we've managed to improve, and now the real test comes against a very good team, one we know very well over the last couple years here. We have a new group, so a lot of them aren't that familiar with Seattle and what they bring and how difficult an opponent they are. A lot of respect for this, for the group, the coach, the players, and what they've created there. It's pretty consistent, and that's what we aim to do here. So we're looking forward to it. But it's a nice test for this group, and yeah, we're just excited to play a soccer game.
As you talk about this bye week and how much training you can do, but it's really in the games where you really kind of grow. What have you taken from these first 4 games on the positive end? I guess. I don't want to say negative side, but
there's always growth. There's always some things that we're finding out about ourselves. On our best day, we can make some plays. We got some guys that can score, both within run of play, but also in transition, which is the transition component is fairly new for us with some of the attacking quality that we have. Again, on our best day, we're pretty resilient, and we're defensively sound. We certainly 30 yards in, we've been more improved as well. The Dallas game, not being a part of that, was a little bit of a blip on the defensive end, but a game where we were able to put up 3 goals. So, we're still shuffling. The red cards have been an issue. It definitely just makes things so much more difficult, and we have to clean that up. We're still pushing the physical side and making sure we're a physical team, and we don't back down from teams. So finding that balance has been a little tricky for us. But I got a lot of belief in this group, and we have we've had some guys in and out with suspensions and injuries, and it's given us a chance to see a bunch of different guys in these lineups and see what they're about. So this is all, I guess, normal with a new group and over the first four games.
Having mentioned that Dallas game, and then you also say there's no carrot at the end of the week during these bye weeks. Is there a bad taste of mouth, if you will, where the way that game was lost, you had to lead 3-2, to kind of come back this week?
Certainly the week leading, or the week following that, it's a moody week. It changes your whole bye week and the mentality. And but you usually get it out of your system. You have a week to kind of put that to bed, and then you're really turning the page and focusing on Seattle and also just some of our principles and some of our staples that we need to continue to grow in.
Coach, it's Danny.
I'll translate.
Hablemos un poquitico de momentos. Usted es parte de la historia de esta franquicia desde cuando se jugaba en el Robertson.
Okay. He wants to talk about specific moments. You're part of the history of this club now, being here and extended.
I remember cuando era cuando era coach de DC United, cuando se jugaba en Robertson. ¿Por qué? Yesterday, ayer, una fecha memorable, el primer partido de Dynamo en Home.
Sí,
El momento que se vive en el opening del estadio 12 de mayo del 2012, cuando usted venía como coach del DC United, de esos momentos, de lo que se vivió en Robertson, que se recuerda usted en su etapa como coach en Robertson, recuerdo cuando debutó ante Nájar aquí, ya, long time ago, lo que se vivió en ese día especial de apertura de Dynamo, al momento que vive hoy, ¿cuál es el balance? ¿Con qué se queda Ben Olsen de todo eso?
So the context is you've been part of the league's history, and he's asking you about what you remember from the Houston Dynamo opening Shell Energy Stadium back in 2012, because they opened against your DC United.
Yeah,
And that's the history.
Yeah.
Yesterday was the history of it.
That was the anniversary of it,
Yeah.
of how many years?
12, so 14 almost?
14 years.
Yeah.
That's a great number, 14.
Someone used to wear it.
Yeah. I don't remember a lot about 14 years ago. I do remember those teams, though, and I have a lot of reverence and a lot of appreciation for that core group and Dominic and the success that they had and the way they had it, right? And again, it was that team, I think, really resonated with the community. I think they won, and they were a tough team, and that's what was their staple, and they were gritty, and I think that really did resonate with the exposure of the new stadium. I don't know. From there to here, the league continues to grow at a really promising rate. I was watching a game today, Pat and I, of Seattle versus Minnesota, and we were reminiscent, as we often do, about how far this league has come. When you look at these stadiums and you look at the ticket sales and the infrastructure and how we travel and what these guys are getting paid, it's really, really growing at a nice rate. But we have a long way to go as a league, and we need to keep pushing. But it's I'm thankful to have been there for in this league, and again, I feel a really, really small part of the development of this league, both as a player and a coach, and I feel like I've had a really good seat to watch this thing grow.
Anything else in the room?
Yeah, Ben, you mentioned the red cards, and you can say there's a correlation in some of the results. I know it's very early in the season, but would you say that if you feel that you're better than what the start of the season is so far right now? Not that it's been a bad start, but some of these games have maybe been lost because of those red cards.
Well, we won one with a red card. I think you still have to blanket just red cards is, I think, a little bit dangerous. Like, we do have to take them in isolation, and I don't agree with two of them. Right? Let's start with that. I think we've been. I think the referees have been really poor this year for us. Right? Says the coach who has 4 red cards. Right? Most coaches with 4 red cards are going to say this. But I think we can all agree. We can look back at them, and I think we've been hard done on for 2 of them. But that's just an excuse, and we have to now focus on how we can prevent that, because it puts you behind, and it does not give you the best chance to win, to state the obvious. But they're all different. There's some silly challenges in going after, not pulling out of a goalkeeper situation and making him bleed and being out for 2 games, right? There's the Antonio challenge. I don't think it's a red card. Then there's the double yellow, right? And that's a whole nother category of having really good habits and not making silly early red cards that you don't need to make. Take your yellows when you really need them, right? When they're really going to help and change the games, or you need to set a tone, and maybe that's later in the games. Early red cards or yellow cards aren't great for defenders to play with, and now you live on that edge. So sometimes it's about moving 2 yards, so you're not in a position to have to make a silly challenge, or so all these things go into it, and so you have to take them in different ways, but also address all those scenarios and make sure that we're not putting ourselves in this position anymore. And Seattle's a team that I think for the last 5 games, we've been given red cards. Again, half we've earned, and half I don't think we've earned. So we got to clean that up, no doubt. And that's on me. I'm the coach, and that's discipline and making sure our team understands that, and that's experience and savvy. But I anticipate this just being a little bit of an early trend, and getting back to finishing with 11 guys on the field.
And a final one, Ben, aside from talking Dynamo and MLS, but more on the world scale level with the World Cup being so close, just kind of want to get, as being a head coach and a former player, your reaction to Italy missing out on a 3rd consecutive World Cup, a 4-time World Cup winner. Italy, one of the powerhouses for a lot of time in football history. Just kind of get your reaction to that. Not that it comes close.
Again, Italy, Bosnia, to me, it's like, I don't care. I don't care. The best win the games, and Bosnia found a way to win that and get to the World Cup. Great for Bosnia. It's unfortunate for Italy, but I don't care whether it's Italy or Spain or any of these teams. I care about the U.S. right now and this team doing well, and I'm pull out some of my old jerseys and get my kids, and we're going to be fans. We're going to enjoy this thing. I love that it's in Houston and it's in our backyard, and I can be a part of the celebration in a few different ways. I remember my first in '94. I was there. I was out in Chula Vista with the youth teams, and they were driving us to L.A. I was there for my first one of my first early live games was Colombia, USA, in the Rose Bowl, in the famous Escobar game. So this was when I was like, oh yeah, I need to be on that field. And then to, at some point, actually step onto a World Cup stage in Germany was an incredible moment for me, something I'll always remember. So it's going to be a special time for me and hopefully my kids. My wife, I'm not sure she cares too much, but the kids are into it. And Italy, we had a famous game against Italy in Germany, the one where the red cards with Pablo and I think it was De Rossi and Brian McBride's big welt. So that was an epic game in Kaiserslautern. And I remember we landed into the K-Town base, which was a cool. I think we stayed a night in Kaiserslautern military base. So again, a lot of memories come back when we this stuff comes to our town, and I'm just excited to enjoy it all.
We've got one last one. With Eddie and Halter out this week, how important is getting Agustin Resch prepared, for an opportunity this week, and how important is he to the back line?
Well, we didn't think that he would be important to our back line, if I'm being honest, in the preseason, and he was a body, and he give to his credit, in the way that Arana wasn't really part of the plans, but such is the season, and things happen, and Halter goes down, and Artur goes down, and we Antonio gets a suspension, and Eric gets a suspension. So now it's like, okay, who's next, and next man up, and he's done a very good job of coming into these games. This kid was playing college soccer, and not the greatest kind of division in college soccer either. He wasn't constantly tested, and he comes here, and he's done very well. We got to be careful about bringing him along, because this is a lot for him to go from there to here, and in the way I think back to Femi and what that transition looked like, and it's going to be ups and downs. So, but he's taken his stride. He's a mature kid. He's fit in with the culture and the guys, and I think that they have faith in him. And we're looking forward to keep pushing him and letting him grow. He's going to have to get some games at some point as we get deeper. It's important for him to go get some D2 games within this and not just play a few minutes or sit on the bench for his growth. But I anticipate us being the depth being strong enough that he doesn't always have to be relied on, and I think that's a healthy thing for him. But it's an opportunity for him as well.
Right.
Yeah, I'm pretty open-minded.
Thanks, Coach.
Good?
Anything else in the room? We have a few on Zoom. All right, we'll start with Dustin. Go ahead, Dustin.
Hey Ben, Kieran.
Yep.
Hey, just want to ask you about Seattle. 5 league games, they've only conceded 2 goals. Just what makes them so tough defensively, and without getting into too much, how do you break down that defense and how good they are?
Well, you take advantage of the few opportunities you get against them. They don't shoot themselves in the foot. They're experienced. They don't give you goals. I think it's been a hallmark of this team, and that comes with, I think, experience, and I think they're well coached. So you have to earn it. You have to earn it against them, man. And when you do get some opportunities, you better stick them. And they're a very complete team. They've always been as complete as any team in this league. Again, they can beat you in different ways. They're defensively sound. They don't give you a lot. They work hard together, and they work hard collectively. And offensively, it's the same thing. They trust each other. They have a nice interchange, but still within a structure. And again, I've talked about, I don't like this team, but I got a lot of respect for them.
All right, one question each here on Zoom. We'll go to Sam.
Hi, Ben.
Sam?
Yeah. Just want to touch on Seattle to piggyback on what the last person just asked. You praise your team resilience, their toughness, and also trying to strike a balance between discipline and not getting the red card that affect the team. How will this thing factor into your selection, looking at those red cards and with Eric out, and also Seattle coming with the form they are right now? How will that be a selection headache for you?
I have a headache right now, Sam. I mean, just a constant headache. And red cards will do that to you. No, it's who you have, who's next man up, and there's some logic to that of who's going to play. But then there's also, yes, of course, we're looking at Seattle and what we think we can, some areas where we can exploit. And sometimes if it's 50-50 on a player to fill someone's spot, maybe then the tactical side comes in and maybe, okay, this guy is going to offer this where we think we can be more successful, maybe on the offensive end or defensive end, depending on who they're going against or what structures. There's a lot that goes into those calls. But sometimes it's just next man up within your structure. So we've had some decisions this week, no doubt. We've had some really tough decisions on this lineup, and we've spent a couple of sleepless nights figuring out what we got. But we think we've arrived to something that's going to be competitive and something that gives us the best chance to win.
All right, we'll go.
Wish you all the best on Saturday.
Okay, thanks,
All right,
Sam.
Joey, go ahead.
Hey Ben, Pat mentioned the other day about how excited Linger was about the Czech Republic qualifying for the World Cup. He's one of those players who's kind of on the bubble of that roster. He played a little bit in their qualifying, didn't get called up to this last camp. How much of a fire is lit under him right now for this next stretch of games before the World Cup roster?
Yeah, well, if today's training was any indication, he's fired up. He's fired up, and there's been a lot of trash talk. We got Polish in there. We got our head chef is from Iraq, so he's pumped. He's in there celebrating, and then you got Linger. We've got some ties to Italy too. So it's been a fun kind of banter in the locker room with all of this drama, and it's been a fun week in that way. But to answer your question, I think Linger was excited, and he's been training at a really high level. And I got a lot of love for the guy. We've asked so many different things, and he finds himself out of the starting lineup, but he'll play anywhere, and he's constantly telling me, "I can do that. I can do that too, coach." So he's a guy who wants on the field, and he wants to prove himself. And the times that we've used him, even at wingback. We know he can play the 9. He can play in both 10 spots. He'll tell you he can play holding mid or center back. He just wants to get time and but he's always, even if he doesn't get the minutes he needs, he's a guy, he's a warrior, and he trains very hard and brings the level up of this group.
All right, Jorge, go ahead.
Hi there, Coach.
Hey, Jorge.
Coach, I think maybe this hasn't been a question that's been asked, but Hector's performances against Portland, false nine, if I'm not mistaken, against Dallas, he plays nearly the entire game. Just your takes on, his performances and how you plan to utilize him.
Well, if you looked, we've utilized him in different ways with different partnerships. He's played in that kind of 10, false nine. He's played, with in certain scenarios in the game as a double pivot. At times with Jaji and a holding, more with a 6. Sometimes we're playing with 2 8s. Again, we know what he offers. Right, I've had enough experience with Hector. We know how he can change the game and what quality he has. So we'll just continue to, see where he fits into this. And it's been a balancing act. But I'll say this: as we kind of figure out where he fits into this, and when I say that, he could be starting and playing every game in a few weeks when the dust settles and we figure out really who we are, and Artie gets back and we get all these players in the summer. I don't know what this looks like still with Hector. What I do know is his energy, his professionalism, the way he's dealt with not being in the lineup or coming in for 10 minutes or all of a sudden starting has been incredible. He's we've talked about the conversations we had when he came here and the opportunity for him to come back here to his family and the community and team that he loves. And again, he's been very, very helpful on a daily basis. He's been helpful with us as a coaching staff, driving the team. And again, I can't say enough about how happy I am that he's back in this group.
All right. We'll wrap it up. Last two here, Selvin and then Nico, and then we'll wrap it up.
Hi, I would just wanted to say, what is the work dedication that has been through the season, and how does Mateus Bogus, knowing playing to the left and playing and then finishing to the right side, what is the key element for him starting at the left, finishing to the right?
The first question is, how hard do I work? Or do I work hard enough?
Hard enough throughout the season with the players and everybody.
Yeah. We're working hard, pal. We're doing what we can. I'll veer that question into a chance to talk about my staff, which is incredible. We brought Ezra Hendrickson on, Juan Guara, Kenny Bundy, Luan Schmidt, who's an analyst that's helping out with us, and Marcelo from the former coach of the D2 team. So all these, and Preston Burpa, who I've worked with, who's doing a great job with the goalkeepers right now. So they work very, very hard. They're here way before I am, and they do a lot more work than I do in that room and preparing this group and training sessions. And I'm very lucky to have a great staff like I do. As far as Bogusz, we've used him on the right and the left. And what I'll say about him is his willingness, every time I've asked him to kind of maybe change a little bit of what, he thought this was going to look like, he's been willing to do it. It's like, yep, absolutely. He's very adaptable. And you look at LA, he's a guy they moved from the right to the left. They played him as a 9. They played him at times lower. So he's just that guy. He's just a really good soccer player. He's tactically savvy. He's sharp. He understands how to play the game, and he's got great instincts. And technically, he can do a lot of different things that enables you as a coach to move him around. So he's been great. He hasn't probably been on the score sheet or the assist sheet as much because of that, because we've moved him around. His preferred position is probably on the left, as you say, coming inside on his right. But again, he played a wide on the right in LA, so he's comfortable there. And with Guilherme having some success on that left side, he's happy to adapt for whatever the team needs.
All right, one more quick one from Nico, then we're wrapping it up, guys. Thank you. Or maybe not. He jumped up.
Nico left. He was like,
All
I'm
right.
bored, I'm bored. Oh, you're there now, Nico. Okay,
There you
what's
are.
up?
Okay.
Welcome.
Yes, I'm at the end of the batting order here, so I'll start to go left field. Brian Smetzer, yesterday, he put you in this category with Bruce and him as the old guys, of MLS. And, I was wondering if you prepare different, you look forward to the games with those, coaches that have been in the league for a little bit longer. And then you mentioned a little bit about that. I don't like him, I respect them. They face Tigres here coming up. Do you find yourself rooting for, the Santos or Brian when they go into those international tournaments?
Oh, that's a good question. If I'm rooting for Seattle when they're playing Tigres. That's a good question. Call me Wednesday. That'll be a game time. I'll have to feel that out. Sometimes you don't even know who you're rooting for until the game gets going. Now, listen, Smetzer's, to me, the Mount Rushmore of this league. His ability to get a team to consistently play at a high level, put themselves in the postseason, put himself in CONCACAF, raise trophies, there's no question. And I think he does it with a humility and a certain humor. And I got a lot of admiration for what he's done there. Again, I look at that club and, we'd like to be a Seattle. We'd like to be that type of team that is constantly in the postseason and experienced and just, again, their overall winning culture there is a special one. And I'd put it up there with the best ones that this league has ever seen on a consistent basis. So, he's done a great job, and that's the front office and the organization's done a great job. So I have nothing bad to say whether I root for him. And when I say I don't like the team, I don't like them because they've had our number, and they're hard to play against.